Alrighty then, you betcha. It's been a while. I've been trying to clean up here. So working on this engine. Is it an NW2? Yeah, NW2. And this is what we're working for. It is to recap, we have taken it apart. We're going to do the beacon, at least on top of the cab. There's another beacon here on the front that we're not going to do. There's a set of lights here on both sides. It's hard to see there, but set of lights that show. Let me zoom in there on this photograph. They show the condition of the engine when it's in remote control. So from the side, people can tell whether or not it's going to go forwards, backwards, whatever is going to happen. I haven't researched that yet. It would be interesting to look at that and see what's going on there. The engine itself has been the one that I'm working on has been painted, right? It's kind of, got Lucan steel on it and all the rest of that. So that's the one that we're going to work on. And we've taken apart the engine now. We've evaluated what the scenario is going to be for the decoder and how it's all going to be put together. I've milled now the top part. So you can see where I have milled two parts here. The centerpiece has been taken out, and I have done a little bit of milling down the sides here. I may have to take some more off that, but I've milled so that wires can lay in there. In previous videos, I talked about the fact that there's actually no room in here for any kind of wires or anything else. So anything that you want as far as a wire way, you have to mill it. This is the decoder we're going to use. This is an NCE's small decoder. We need the two functions for the headlight and the rear light, and it actually has at least two more, maybe three more functions. We're going to use at least one of those for the beacon on the top, and so we're about ready to assemble that, and so let's get ready. Part of this is to make sure the motor, which we have now marked very well here with markings, hard to see, but the little double lines there tell us how this is all put together and shows the markings here. I've learned from my mistakes. Mark this stuff well before you take it apart. That way you know what's going on and how it all fits back together. The other thing that's important here is I need to now go ahead and bring wires out from these two motor leads, and so we're going to clip the motor leads and then solder to the wires to the motor leads. That would be the orange and gray one. We may want to set the decoder up in the hole where it belongs, and then kind of pull the two wires that we need down to where they are. I may just put a little bit of tape on there and do it right there, right on the motor before I put it in. So let's take a look at that. While I'm looking at this, I can already see that I may have to cut some wire. I cut some grooves down in through the metal for the wires to curve down and into it. Let's take a look at that. It may be that we're already there. It looks like we are there for this one, and so for the bottom one may be where we're going to have to cut out for. So let's take a look at that, and I'll be back. Alrighty, so you can see that there's just a little bit more needs to be taken out of this shell for the wire. So you can see I've darkened that in with blue pen, and I'm going to take that little nib out of there, probably with a Dremel tool, and I've done the same thing on the other side. Again, not quite as much, but you can see where I need to take that out. And again, this is just a precaution. There's plenty of room this way, right, for the wire, which is not that big. Wire to the bottom, because of the way this plastic frame, this plastic piece is made, there is room up underneath. You can see the light coming through that hole right there, so there's enough room for a wire to go down the side here. And the plastic itself, these two pieces of plastic are thick enough that it allows the wire to go down through there and attach this. Of course, we'll have to cut that, and then we'll have a wire that's coming down this way. We'll insulate at the bottom. Not that it's touching, not that it will touch. It's well spaced in there. Again, but we just want to make sure that nothing happens to that. So we'll go ahead and put a piece of tape across that. Okay, moving on. Just wanted to share that with you. Alrighty then, I got a little distracted. Like that hasn't happened before. Anyways, so here we are back again trying to figure out how we're going to put this in here and whether or not it's going to fit. You see the arrows on that means that this goes in this way, I think. Yes. Goes in this way with the arrows. So let's see whether or not I was able to route it out properly. Yep, looks good there. All right. You can't tell from down there yet, but that part looks good up there. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to do this. I'm going to probably put some foam on there to mount this, and then we're just going to bring the orange and black wire, or orange and gray wire down, cut the tabs off, and solder them to that, solder them to the motor. Be right back. All right, so just as a review, right? This shows that this is the F, means that this is forward, right? Goes forward this way. And the right side would be the red wire, typically, or the plus side. This frame goes like this. This is forward on the frame, right? This is forward on the frame. This is the right side. So I'm not testing this time, but we're going to use a little bit of logic. So this is the right half, or the right pickup. It touches this contact on the motor, assuming that we have the motor in there correctly. And again, because of the orientation of the arrows, right? Goes in that way, right? Now notice it doesn't matter whether it goes in this way or goes in this way. The result is still the same, and that's that this pickup, whichever one it is, right, is touching this side, right? And so now we're looking at the arrows. Got to match the arrows now. So this is the correct orientation. So this one, right, is the right side and would be the orange wire. Orange to red, right? Gray to black. So this is gray. This is red. So that's how I'm going to, this is gray. This is orange. Okay. That's how I'm going to cut those, and that's how I'm going to attach that to there. Okay. Be right back. Alrighty then. So with the two wires installed, the orange on the bottom and the gray on the top, we're going to go ahead and put it in the binder and start wiring up the front lights, which is also the rails left and right. Notice I left a little bit more wire than I ordinarily would. I put a little loop in it. That's in case I make a mistake. Oftentimes happens. This decoder is not one where you can just change it out. So if you make a mistake here, you get a problem. I also cut out the 3 and 4. There was a piece of shrink tube over top of this, and F3 and F4 are shown in another instruction, and I'll bring that out and we'll look at that in just a minute. This is why it pays oftentimes to get the instructions off the net instead of getting it with the decoder. This is the instructions that came with the decoder, and if you notice, even the number down at the bottom is the same. 0540119, 0524, I'm sorry, 0119 are exactly the same. That's because it's the decoder number. But they are different versions of it, different revisions of it. So it's helpful for you to get the latest version. It's obvious it's not this decoder. If you look at the size of this decoder, it's obvious it's this one over here. And this one, the N12SR, means it only has 2 outputs, I guess. But quite clearly on this diagram, it shows 3 and 4, which are the 2 that I cut out. Outputs 3 and 4, I went ahead and cut those out because we're going to use those for the beacon and maybe for something else too. All right. So again, very important that you go online and double check for things like that. Okay, so I wrapped the motor brushes, top and bottom, right, with Kapton tape. Now, not necessarily had to, but it made sense that they're so close to the frame, and we don't want these leads to short to the frame, since the frame will be hot, left and right rail. That's an easy way to blow up this decoder. So we've put some Kapton tape on that to hold it. All right, let's continue on. Okay, so we're ready to assemble this now. We've got the hardware and the pieces. Notice that I've put the motor and the worms on this side, not the side with the springs on it. It's really tough. I mean, you can put it over there, but the springs keep pushing up on it and they kind of get jammed. So this is the way to do this. This is the smooth side of the square bushings are up. In other words, they're going to contact these edges. We want to make sure that everything is lubricated, so we're going to go ahead and lubricate the ends of these bushings. I lubricated the motor bushings. And as I've talked about before, these are sleeve type bearings, and so they don't hold lubrication very well. And while you're in it, this is the time for you to put a little lube in. Where's my toothpick? Toothpick or whatever, somebody. And that's way too much. Let's just put just a little drop of grease on these gears. Okay, out of the way. All right, we're ready to put it together. Now these two spacers are absolutely necessary to keep the two halves from shorting. So if they're not there, you could have a short. So you got to put those in first and make sure that they're in well. Again, we're putting it on this half. Why is that one not going in well? I don't know. Go on in there. There he goes. When I talk about it, the other one comes out. All right, now make sure that these springs, so there's 4 springs here, make sure that they're good. And we're ready to put this on. Now we could put the wheel sets on too at this point, but no sense doing that right away. We can kind of snug them up later on. Okay, and we've got the motor mounts. We can see the black part of the motor mount coming through there. It still feels like it's not going down well. That may be because on the other side the motor mount has not gone through the side yet. This is the side that has the hex hole, so that's where the nuts go, right, on that side. So we'll make sure that those nuts get in there where they're supposed to go. And then we'll screw it all together. as you try to hold it while you're doing it. Alrighty then. Let's get us a screwdriver of the right kind. Oh, my nut fell out. Back in there. Alright, hold it. Just get a thread or two started on it. There we go. The same thing on the other side. Somewhere. Oh, and did you see that? It just exploded because I didn't have enough threads on it. And it doesn't appear as though the motor is coming through these two slots here. So we're going to have to take another look at that and see what's going on with that. So, did we lose the nut? Nope, the nut's still there. All right, let me take a look at that. Alrighty then, it's like the next day or maybe even the day after. And wow, what a problem that was getting this thing back together again. I did a whole bunch of prodding and picking and carrying on. So you see all the tools laying out here. Well, it turns out that even though I had made some great marks on the motor about which way was front and back and whatnot, I even double hashed the carrier, the rubberized carrier for the motor mount, if you will. It turns out that the motor mount was, I don't remember whether it was this way or was this way, but whatever way it was backwards. As soon as I turned it around, I left the motor with all the arrows correct, and I just turned the bracket around, it fit well. I will have to be more careful, as much as we talked about that earlier on in the video about being careful about marking and keeping it marked. I evidently was not careful enough. All right, so here we are at this juncture. We're going to put some more tools away. We're going to now put the wires, these other wires that are left, and as you see, the two most important wires here are the black and the red wire. Now, this is the light board. So let me zoom in a little bit on this so we can see what we're doing here. This is the light board that goes up front right here. And as you see, it keys into or slides into the two halves. And I'm not quite sure whether it goes this way or goes this way. It doesn't matter. It will pinch into that. It's preferable for me right now to put it in this way. Actually, it goes in there pretty easy. And as you see, right, it clips into, let's use this as a pointer, clips into the left and right, or right and left, since this is forward, right and left. And so this would be the red wire would go here, go to that point, and the black wire would go to, well, there's not a point over here for it to go to. So let's look at the board again and see what we're going to do here. All right, so now let's get some focus to it. Come on, machine. Let's do this. That works a lot better. All right. So now if we look at this with the left and right, and I got to get my pointer up there, the left and right, we can go ahead and cut this resistor out, right? And we can also turn it over here. If we cut the resistor out, then we can hook directly to that point. This one, this trace goes up here with a solder point here, but we're going to need that solder point for the LED that we're going to put in here. We're going to actually replace this with a better LED. our friends at Kato kind of cheaped out with a non-bright white LED. I could use the same one, which wouldn't be a problem, but I want to put a nicer one in here. We're going to have to add one to the back, and we're going to also have something else. So I want them to be consistently the same brightness. The resistor we're going to take out, we're going to put another one in line with that. So my plan here is to drill a hole right on this trace, cut this trace here, and put another hole here, and then so I can do right and left pickups on the trucks. And then we'll put the LED in, all right? We can still wire to these two traces, and we can actually put a resistor in there, but the resistor is going to dangle from the one side, and we're going to go ahead and put an inline wire that goes to that. Alrighty, let's continue with that, and I'm going to just do that off camera so you can get, so I don't bore you with these little details.